Hi, Ben Manwaring. How are you?
Hi, Lauren. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. More importantly, where are you?
So I am coming to you from Amsterdam, little looking over the Amstel River. Yeah, relocated here to the Netherlands. I guess you know this, but for others who don't know, in April of this year. So enjoying our sojourn in Europe for however long it may be. But yeah,
That's great. You've had such a flexible career. So, Ben Manwaring is a consultant, has been a consultant. He's also a technology executive. Has kind of bounced back and forth between traditional consulting, traditional roles in enterprise technology, back into consulting, a little bit in touching private equity companies, some surfing expeditions in Nicaragua, this current
absolutely.
expedition in Amsterdam. So a lot of flexibility and interesting, I think you've had a really interesting career path.
Yeah.
And I thought you've spent some time with us on the Keenan Reed side as a consultant. So
Yeah.
I thought it would be great to come in and have a conversation. I'm going to talk through kind of your path and how you enabled it.
Great. No, I'm excited too. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
even as I've been here and introducing myself to people, getting to know people in the investment and tech community, get to tell the story of my career over and over again. And it's been fun to kind of take a step back and reflect. Like it has been a bit of a winding road compared to many, but it's been full of a lot of really rich and valuable experiences. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
excited
I
to
know the
reflect.
story, but how do you tell the story now?
Yeah, so I think this the story that I tell is, I mean, I tend to skip over the early part, which was like English literature major, then like Capitol Hill intern, teacher via Teach for America. So those were all pretty like interesting points, but they were a build up to going to business school, which is where we met, obviously, at the University of Texas, and earning my MBA. And then, from there, I was really passionate about helping create lasting companies and organizations. That was actually when I was doing Teach for America as a teacher. The thing that attracted me to move into business was reading a lot of these management books. I'm blanking on any of the names, but some of the classics that really talked about like building lasting organizations. And so that led me to business school, which led me to starting out in consulting. I was like, I don't know, lucky or unlucky, depending on how you look at it, to join right before the financial crisis. So my career in like short in big management consulting was fairly short, I guess about a year or so.
So let's
But
pause. When you
then,
say the
yeah,
financial
yeah,
crisis, you mean 2008. Yeah. So we were
yeah,
class of
dating
2008. I was '07. We had a little bit of a
exactly,
buffer. You guys did not. You entered into the
exactly.
economy and then bam.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks after I started that the Lehman Brothers collapse happened, and that set a lot of things in motion. Anyway, so I don't normally tell all this detail, but so I'll move a little more quickly. But then that obviously I was really fortunate through a colleague at Booz to land on a strategy team at Dell where we also overlapped. And then that just kind of led me on a really interesting path. It was sort of starting in strategy. I think one of the beautiful things about coming from consulting and then like a strategy function is you can either sort of stay on that path, and we have some folks and mentors who were really passionate about that, some people in our lives who are really passionate about pure strategy, or as I did, it kind of opens up a really world of opportunities. And so I moved into partnership roles and then marketing. That led me to leaving Dell to kind of do a little bit of my own consulting as an independent consultant. And then with one of my clients, they were looking to start a marketing function. So they brought me in to design the marketing strategy. And then from there, I really liked the company a lot, liked the direction they were going. And so was able to join as their first kind of marketing leader and build that function from the ground up. And that was in the real estate investment space with kind of a technology bent to it. And then from there, I took some time off. You mentioned kind of my Nicaragua surfing time. There was also a few months traveling around Europe, visiting coffee shops and cafes and just kind of enjoying taking a step back. And then it was from there that we reconnected. I mean, we'd always stayed connected as friends, but we reconnected professionally, and I was able to work with you on a big project at Keenan Reed. And then that, especially doing it kind of that level for one of the biggest technology companies in the world, opened up a door for me to move into private equity, to Vista Equity Partners, which invests solely in enterprise SaaS. So again, some of the work that we had done together, which was kind of on the service side of this SaaS, enterprise SaaS world, I think gave me enough credibility to really put myself forward into that Vista Equity Partners role. And then that was, it was 2 years, but I kind of joke, but it was really true. It was like getting a second MBA, but a real, very, very hands-on one, because we were seeing so many companies in such a short period of time, working with really dozens of the portfolio companies, particularly on how they were going to manage their value creation process during their time with Vista.
And the Vista was circled. When was Vista? I feel like some of the economic background of this is important. Like the 2008 is important. Right? Like you came into an environment where it was like incredibly, incredibly hard to succeed. And
right.
Then you were with Vista around 2019, before the pandemic.
Yeah, joined in 2019. And so halfway through my time at Vista was when the pandemic hit. So yeah, we went from kind of being on the road every week, just about with portfolio companies, to suddenly this model that was incredibly hands-on, where we were really in the offices of the portfolio companies, training them on sales best practices, training them on marketing best practices, helping them do customer journey maps and all these things. We had to suddenly pivot like everyone else, but it was very dramatic for the kind of work we were doing, to still being as present, visible, and hands-on with these companies, but then doing it all remotely. So it was quite a shift. And then from there, that kind of this kind of gave me this deeper experience. I hadn't had much direct experience on the sales side of things. I was decently experienced in marketing and communications from those past experiences, and obviously strategy. But then at Vista, I picked up a pretty robust toolkit of sales best practices, everything from how to plan territories, to compensate salespeople, to train them on how to sell with methodologies like the Challenger sale, and then was recruited by a tech-enabled services company who was looking for a CRO. I will be honest that it had probably a bigger title than at least at first was maybe some people would think was warranted, because I joined as the first hire in sales and marketing, but it was a really exciting opportunity to join. I think we were around 10 to 12 million in revenue when I first started, and was able to help grow that company to over 20 million in revenue. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit now, but you can kind of see it was never the path that I thought when I was an MBA student in 2006. Like, I never would have guessed that this would be the route or the path that I've gone on, but it's been incredibly satisfying. It's been, for me, as someone who likes a lot of variety, I've been able to have this incredibly diverse set of experiences, and also take time off in between a lot of those experiences. And when I say time off, it's never like my time off, as is not sitting on the couch watching Drag Race. Well, maybe a little bit of sitting on the couch watching drag, but there's always been some kind of significant trip or creative project, or something that I've been able to work on in between. And yeah, it's been quite a fun journey, and it's always nice to get to reflect back on it.
How much? So I have a couple of questions. How much of your, if you were to look at, can we do 100 pennies exercise?
What's 100 pennies exercise?
So imagine you have 100 pennies, and you have to put them in different pocketbooks. Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine the pocketbooks are your career. you have a real interest in entrepreneurship. Even though you've been through consulting, you've worked in enterprise tech, how many of your pennies do you put in that like need for growth or small company or kind of seeing something small grow? The
That's a
entrepreneurship
great,
pocketbook.
yeah, that's a great question. I mean, yeah, it's definitely varied over time, but I mean, the number that just kind of flashed in my mind was in the like 40, 40
Oh,
plus.
wow.
Yeah, like I absolutely value the stability and the experience, that like the collective experience that comes from a big established organization. You gain a lot of institutional knowledge, tap into a ton of resources, but it's so much more enjoyable, and like the fun and energizing part for me is being, yeah, in this kind of creating something, environment. I think entrepreneurship and starting new enterprises or helping new companies grow, it's this interesting, I don't know, right, like metaphor here. I'm thinking of like weaving together threads, but you kind of weave together the business aspect with some creativity. It's generative. It's like yeah, it kind of satisfies that part of me that, wants to not just be financially successful and have a successful career, but also wants to create something. I think you at least get to see it more pronounced. Like certainly people working
Yeah.
in big business environments, you're absolutely still helping create something, but maybe the influence is a bit more diluted. Whereas in a startup or working with a entrepreneur or a founder, you really get to see like this business did not exist before or did not have customers before, and now it does exist and it does have customers and it's on a growth path and we're hiring people. Like it's the contrast is very stark in a way that, don't always get to see in a large corporate environment.
Have you read Rick Rubin's The Creative Act
I have not. No.
book?
Tell me.
I should get it for you.
Creative. Okay.
It's this like book of, so Rick Rubin is a really famous music producer, hip hop music producer.
Yeah.
White guy, looks like Doc Brown, okay?
Okay.
Like lived in Malibu in a house with no furniture, like
Yeah.
very like in tune, kind of a medium almost, all right? But he wrote this book, which I have found like incredibly interesting, and it's beautiful, by the way. It's a beautiful book. It sits on your coffee table. It's
Okay.
like very
Amazing.
stark and modern and beautiful. And each section of the book is like 2 to 3 pages of almost like a meditation on creation. And so this idea of creativity, what he says is like it is not, or at least what I took away from what he was saying. Maybe this is just my interpretation, but it is not it does not have to be art, right? Creativity can be anything. It is whatever
Yeah.
comes from you through you. And
Yeah.
I think that your point about entrepreneurship is spot on. Like entrepreneurship is a completely creative act.
Right.
And people who want to go into business and work in enterprise are 180 degrees different from
Yeah.
founders and people who really thrive in that kind of unknown environment.
Yeah.
Shall we
That's
talk
really-
about some of our failures?
Yeah. I like. Yeah.
Okay.
That's always valuable.
So let's talk about some of our dalliances. Maybe not failures, more dalliances.
Yeah.
Because I have this thing too. I don't think I'd put 40 pennies in my entrepreneurship. I'd probably put 20.
Okay.
And that-
which is
and I
interesting
was gonna
because
call that-
you
Yeah.
started these. Yeah. That's surprising actually, given
Well,
everything
but
you've
okay, this
created.
actually makes a ton of sense because I would have said, okay, you and I are kind of similar in this sense, and maybe I would have put a little bit more than me, but I wouldn't have gone more than 25.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you're the clients that you serve, the roles you have taken, both at Vista, now what you're doing, and we'll get to what you're working through now with some of the scene in Europe, is all around small businesses. Whereas mine, even though I have my own businesses, is all around enterprise. Like
That's fair.
I
Yeah.
really, really struggle with the organicness of most startups. Like I am so
I
structured,
see.
I must. So
Yeah.
but that's really interesting.
that's-
Okay, so here's some of our. Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, no, I mean it's along these lines because I was going to say like, and sometimes when I tell the story of the consulting work I've done, I talk about I've consulted for everything from largest tech company in the world to sole proprietor founders, and this is one of them. This is actually related to one of the things that you and I explored, but I invested in and consulted it was a single founder business in the artisanal nut milk space. I don't know, I know we made some jokes about this as something that we might do years ago. And when I was in Austin, it was during that interlude time. I met someone through I've always been passionate about, or for a long time been passionate about specialty coffee and cafes, and I met a barista through one of the cafes that I went to a lot. I think it was Manana on South Congress, and they were exploring, or more than exploring, they were starting a nut milk, or almond milk business. And so I invested a little bit in her business and helped her get it started. And then to your point, she had to close the business just because of life circumstances. And I was, as disappointing as that was, I could kind of roll with that. It's like the destructive part of creativity as well. It's like these things emerge and then some of them fall away, and it doesn't bother me that much. It's like I'm able to roll with the organic ambiguity of it all. In fact, I think I find it kind of energizing. Not that I want the businesses to not succeed. That would definitely have been preferred, but it's exciting and fun for me to be part of that. But yes, what are some of our? We've had a few.
Let's talk about our nut milk. We had one day in the nut milk business. We made the most delicious nut milks anyone has ever tried.
Cardamom. I think cardamom was the secret ingredient. Right. One.
Flavoring our nut milks.
It was a revelation.
We destroyed my kitchen, and then I think we wisely decided, I don't think either one of us is going to be giving up our spreadsheets to go make nut milk.
You know what was cool about that, though? It was an interesting experience, but for me it was actually really eye-opening, because I think it's for those of us who have some entrepreneurial spirit and maybe have a creative side, like this multi-sensory creative side. I think it's easy to think that the only way to engage that is by doing the artistic act or doing the hands-on manual act. It's like, so I'm also passionate about bread baking, and so there's been times when I'm like,
yes, you are.
I just need to bake bread for my career. Like, that's what I need to do. But the experience that we had with our short-lived nut milk, artisanal nut milk business idea, was going through that process. Like, I like the hands-on doing of the thing as a hobby, but I'd much rather still be the one supporting or guiding the person who's doing the thing, doing whatever it is, making the nut milk, opening the cafe, opening the brewery. I'm an investor in a brewery complex in Austin. Fast Friends, plug if you're in Austin, go support it. It's a wonderful space. That's the role that I've figured out. It's like I want to be involved in those things, but whether it's ADD or something, I couldn't do it day in and day out. I couldn't actually brew beer day in and day out, bake bread, wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the bakery, go make nut milk for 4 hours a day. So it's like those failures and those things that, we try and don't pursue. I think they can be really enlightening and kind of revelatory around what it is that we are actually passionate about and meant to do.
I never would have moved Keenan Reed Strategies beyond just me if not for Figurine Clothier.
For what?
I remember Figurine, the pants.
Oh,
you may not.
Yes.
Yeah. So mine, when I left my big job, 11 years ago, was I'm gonna make pants that fit women. Why can't women, professional women, have tailored pants like men have tailored suits? Right? There are plenty of. I did all the consultant things, market analysis, financial models, P&L, thinking through value chains. What can I not do? Make a pair of pants.
Make a pair of pants.
Like, and
But
even
if
like
you,
working,
yeah,
I
if you
mean,
met the
like
right person who was passionate about
I
making
went
those
to
pants, you would
fabric
be,
shows.
yeah,
I met a tailor and a pattern maker, and I had them like create the first pair of pants. And I was like, I don't think this is what I can do every day.
right,
Like
right,
being like the little fixes, like that is not my
yeah,
superpower. But if not for like that whole process of figuring out how to really stand something up, like I wouldn't have been able. I don't know if I would have been. I probably would have figured it out. I would have made a lot more mistakes, but it's definitely made like a very natural thing when I had too much work for myself to be like, okay, let me start
yeah.
calling other people. And then when I had a couple of people, okay, now let's put the operation together. And like all of that kind of came to fruition, I think, from
Yeah,
some of those dalliances.
right. It's kind of yeah. It's almost like I don't know. There's the playing aspect to it that you actually pick up some skills that you then put into the money making work part of
Yeah.
it. So yeah, I think it all has value. For me, it's helped as as I'm here in Amsterdam now. One of the things that I've done a little bit of angel investing with in the U.S. I've had some spectacular failures in that process. But now as I've moved to Amsterdam and I'm pretty committed to at least having a home here, if not, being here for full time for several years. We'll see how it all goes. But I've been getting plugged into the tech and investment community here. And I think even those kinds of experiences, both investing in other people's businesses, exploring my own. Because there have been a couple others. You may remember Triva, the travel platform
Yes.
that I was trying to create, which was so much fun creating it. And I
Volunteer
got pretty.
tourism.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there are plenty of those, that exist out there now. But each of those things, which sometimes you could look back with some regret, like, oh, I'm so, disappointed that I didn't get that off the ground. But the reality is, even just the process of getting it started and sourcing contractors to build the website and doing the market research, all of that has value now as I talk to founders who are looking for investment. I think it's given me like some hands-on personal experience with starting to launch something that I can pass on, but also helps me think about what to look for in founders. And some of it is like looking for people who have a different persona or different skill set than I do, whereas I want to kind of move quickly on to the next thing. I'm looking for people who are going to show up every fucking day excuse me, but
You're looking for
every
the bread
day
maker.
working on their exactly and whatever tech it is that or company it is that they're starting. It's like, so it's, I think all that, especially if you take a little time to reflect and think through things, that can be, those experiences can be just as valuable, if not more, than the successes.
So, okay, so you also, I want to get practical for a second. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you moved to Amsterdam less than a year ago, and now you are actively plugged into the startup community in Amsterdam and trying in Berlin as well. I know you speak German,
Yeah.
but what are, like, practically speaking, what have you actually done to get involved and start having those conversations to the point where they're meaningful?
Yeah. That's a good question. The meaningful thing will be kind of rolling around in the back of my mind. So let's see on that. I can tell you kind of first steps that I took. One was, I used just some of my really basic sales tools. This is where, having just kind of left the CRO role, and I was doing a lot of hands-on selling myself, just because of the stage that we were in and the level of buyers we were trying to reach. So I was pretty adept at things like Sales Navigator, and so I kept my Sales Navigator license. And once I figured out who I wanted to talk to, which for me were primarily principals and managing partners in venture capital firms and private equity firms, I created some lists of who those people were. And it's like, okay, these are the people that they're going to be kind of door openers for me into this investment in tech community. And so I was just very deliberate about.
Were you looking for people you had a connection to, or just cold?
I was going cold, actually, yeah. And this might be helpful for others who are thinking about, trying living overseas or other expats. I think sometimes in the U.S., just the nature of the business community there, it's quite vast. Like there's so many of us with MBAs who are doing a lot of things in technology and in the investment space. It can kind of feel like you're a small fish in a really big pond. I've found coming to Europe, the background that I brought, and actually this really varied background that we talked about, with time in consulting, time as a technology executive, time in private equity, is really unique here, and it's not something that a lot of people have. So as I was reaching out, there was just a great willingness to connect. Some of it I think is cultural. The Dutch are really actually quite open. So we can talk more about that another time. But yeah, it's a very open culture, and people are generally quite willing to connect. But I think the background that I brought from the U.S. was quite interesting to people. So I've been really pleasantly surprised. It's been people have been very open to having conversations, and then it's just been take a step, any step. It's just like one foot in front of the other. It's like, have the call. Is there anyone else I should meet, or any groups that you'd recommend me joining, or events to go to? And so that it's just like each one has led to another door. So now I'm mentoring a handful of startups through an accelerator here called Startup Bootcamp, and then through that I've met a lot of other people in the investment community. Started attending pitch competitions. There's a group here called Tech Makers. Today I just heard about another that all started attending. So it's just been, I guess, like anywhere, it's just been kind of taking those first steps and getting connected to people, seeing who I vibe with. That's a big thing for me. Is I think about my personality, that I want to spend time with people that I feel authentically connected to and share some of my values. And it's not so much a cerebral thing. It's just a vibe check. Like, oh yeah, I like spending time with this person. We seem to care about some of the same things. So why don't I ask them, where they're spending time or what events they recommend? And then each of those has kept opening new doors. So it's been interesting, because it's so different moving as a middle-aged adult where I don't have like a school program to plug into or a office that I'm going into every day. But I think I've been really happy with how this building a new network has gone so far. Yeah. And very appreciative, awesome. Particularly if there's anyone from that new network who happens to watch this. Really appreciative of how welcoming and open and encouraging people here have been.
So if you're looking back, look back at yourself 10 years ago. Okay, so sort of like the mid-career Ben, not the getting started.
Wait, is this Ben. Corporate porridge Ben then? Is this sitting in the basement?
This is corporate porridge.
Round Rock Ben. One.
This is. I didn't mention corporate porridge, but I will just that's your Easter egg. Anyone that's gotten this far, that's your Easter egg. Corporate porridge. You can see how talented some of the people on this call are. I don't know which one or both of them who they were, but you can see that. Maybe you'll find it on Instagram. Maybe you'll find it on Google. I don't know. But you're advising. Let's just make it this way. You're advising corporate porridge Ben and corporate porridge Lauren.
Yes.
What are you telling them?
I've actually thought a lot about this. So what I would tell them, let me see if I can find the right words, because it could sound very cliche, but I actually feel really passionately about this. You are so, both of you are so talented and so incredibly smart. The only thing keeping you from what it is that you want to do are your own limiting beliefs about what you can accomplish. I mean, absolutely. When I look back, there were so many times that I thought about taking another jump in my career. I don't know if you remember, I think it's okay to say I was talking with people about a job at Tom Shoes when they were really kind of on the up. But I had so much insecurity about I could just think of so many reasons why I wasn't going to be a fit, and why they wouldn't want my background, and why and I think this, as I've moved on, and granted, I've had a lot more experience now in my career, so there is a lot more to draw from. But even in our, our early 30s, like we already had, for where we were in our careers, I already had a pretty great, treasure trove of experiences, like good degrees, Teach for America, like interesting things, Capitol Hill, all this stuff. But I just was like talked down to myself so much. I really kind of diminished my own experience. And I wish I could like reach back to that Ben and be like, what you bring to the table is already so valuable. Like, find the ways to believe in that, bring that out, and celebrate it, because other people will see it. And again, I hope that doesn't come across any cliche, because I think it just is so true. Like, we really limit ourselves in terms of what we think we can accomplish. That's what I would love to tell us sitting in the basement of Round Rock 1 eating poor cafeteria food.
Listen, we know the person who's in charge of the food. Okay, I won't out her publicly here. We know who she is, and she says she's fixed it.
Oh, good.
I'm
Okay,
skeptical.
well.
I'm skeptical. We called it the food dungeon.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical. She has yet to invite me to lunch up there for me to see it for myself.
Maybe when I'm back, we can pop up there for a luncheon and check it out ourselves. Write a little review.
Well, I think I want to build on what you said, and then we'll end. But what I would advise, it's interesting. Like, I would say, like, in your gut, like, maybe you, not me. Like, in my gut, I knew that if I worked as hard and was as committed to someone else's job and what they thought as I could be to myself, it was basically like I had this thought. When I was at BCG and I was flying to Manhattan to Dallas every week, 90-hour weeks, 2009.
Yeah.
Post, I mean, it was like horrible. And I was sitting there, I was so fat. And I was eating this ice cream sundae in first class, and I've had like 15 glasses of wine. Okay. Yeah. And the thought that comes to my head is, if I work this hard for someone else that I don't even care about, how could I not be successful on my own? How could that not possibly be?
Yes.
It almost feels like, and then play that forward 5 years later, which is the people we're trying to talk to. We were trapeze artists, and we just didn't see the net.
Wow.
And if we would have just known to let go, if we knew the net was there, maybe we would have. I don't know. I feel like eventually we both did be like, yep, that net's there. Here you go. And things have worked out in interesting ways for us. But
it's a really motivational thought, though. Yeah, if putting that, if I can put as much effort and thought and intention and passion behind what I've done for other people, kind of put that into my own enterprises, like, how could you not be successful? It's really true. It's really motivating.
It's a lot of people who are those people now who are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years out of big firms, and I just want to be like, it's there, dude. If you got that far, like, there's no way you're gonna not figure out whatever it is that you're supposed to figure out. So
yeah, I think that's right.
Well, good.
I will say that's where just to add a quick thought, like, when I was getting ready to leave Vista, because I was thinking about, like, okay, I'm enjoying this experience. I know there's something next. What should that look like? I worked with a career coach, actually based in Austin. Her practice is called Career Zen. And the whole focus was, like, really getting, before trying to, like, neuromuscle figure out what the next thing is, like, to get calm, get grounded, really get centered around what am I passionate about, what are my skills, what, like, gets me excited every day. And together we crafted a career vision statement. But the way that just the process that we went through to create that, it was incredibly helpful. It's something I still look at today. So this is, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now, and I still, like, look at it at least weekly. For a while I would look at it daily, and it really kind of helped to, like, focus and harness that energy around the things that I was passionate about. So all that energy that used to get deployed in helping accomplish other people's dreams, visions, goals, that's still there for me as a bit of a people pleaser, but more of that energy is getting channeled or focused onto my own initiatives, the things that I'm passionate about. It's
Oh,
cool.
I'm so happy for you. You're the best. You're the best. I miss you.
Hey.
It's funny
Oh,
though.
miss
I
you
feel like
too.
we're in like very different phases of life right now, but I feel like I
Yes.
actually talk to you more than people that live a mile from me
Oh my
because
gosh.
just,
Yeah.
my life is consumed by small children activities.
Yeah. I
So
know. I'm glad that
it's
you
nice
reach
to
out.
connect.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and we'll this is totally off. Yeah, I guess off this, but we're gonna be in Houston for Thanksgiving to see Daniel's family, but we're gonna pop up to Austin for a few days after. So we
Okay,
haven't
call
like
me.
nailed down. Okay, yeah, I would love to see you. So I'm always glad we get to stay in touch.
One last thing. You didn't plug it, so can I plug Kofi Lust?
Oh, Coffee Lust. I say Coffee Lust, but yeah.
Coffee Lust.
Yes.
KOFILUSTE on Instagram.
Yes.
Ben's, as you mentioned, you're a coffee aficionado, and this is,
Yes.
taking me through the rainy daydreams that I have here in sunny, still hot Texas. So
That's
follow
wild.
it. If you
Yes.
like coffee and you want to pretend
Yeah.
that you're somewhere else cooler than you are, you should follow.
Follow Coffee Lust. Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you, and please do. There's more to come with
Yeah.
that too. That's another thing that's brewing in the background. Some more things to come with
Well,
Coffee
we'll
Lust.
end on your
Ah,
pun there.
right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for thinking of me for this, and yeah, we'll be talking soon.